Hello, welcome to the Career Clarity Podcast. In today's podcast, we have a special guest. We have Mr. Lekh Bajaj, who is a licensed clinical psychologist and a life coach. Lekh has been helping working professionals, the leaders, managers, executives, to achieve a good mental health and emotional well being. To tell you that Lekh has done his BTech from IIT Delhi in 2014, and then gradually he realized that his interest lies in the field of psychology. So he shifted his area from engineering to the area of mental health and clinical psychology. Uh, Lekh has conducted a lot of training programs for the esteemed organizations like McKinsey, IIT Delhi, Indian Road Safety Campaigns, and many more. So today's conversation is really going to be very helpful for everyone from the perspective of how to improve your mental health. Not only that, but somebody who is coming from an IIT Delhi background, leaving an engineering career, and then completely shifting his career into a clinical psychology role, right? So a lot of things to discuss today with Lekh. First of all, Lekh, thank you very much for your time and welcome to the Career Clarity Podcast.
Thank you, Samrit. Great to be here and looking forward to the initiative that you have started to help the students. And I
Great.
personally had a lot of doubts regarding my career back then. So I think you're doing great work.
Thank you. Yeah. So, Lekh, I would like to, go back to your background. Your childhood days. What was the aspiration? What kind of childhood you had, and what were your career aspirations?
Hmm. So I guess till class 10th, I was, so I'm from a government school and like I was okay. I was just above average IQ, not too high IQ or too smart. And I used to score decent marks. And because it was a government school, so the competition was not too much. So it was, I used to get first rank very easily, like by scoring 84%, 85%. It used to be in percentage back then.
Right.
Uh, and that's how it went. I was not too serious about what I will do, etc. I was just, okay, maths mein maza aa raha hai, science mein maza aa raha hai, so let's just go with it. So till class 10th, it went on like that. After 10th, because I scored 84% in 10th class. So I was like, I'm interested in science and math. SST, Hindi, English in सब में ज़्यादा मजा आता नहीं है, तो let's just take science. I was not even aware that there is something called IIT, and which is like a big deal in India. I was too naive कि दुनिया में क्या चल रहा है.
Okay.
But then my elder brother told my father कि जो लोग science लेते हैं, they go for these coaching for some like IIT exam. So one of his friend had also done coaching. So पापा सेट के हाँ करा रहे थे. आई ऑल्सो थॉट कि अभी तक भी ट्यूशन जाता था, वो जो मोहल्ले में दीदी एक्सेट्रा होती है, ये भी ट्यूशन है, चलते हैं.
Right.
So वहां से फिर आई वेंट देयर एंड I remember the first day of that coaching, not first day, when the result came, the first class after 10th result, because coaching to पहले ही start हो जाती है. So the teacher asked how many of you have scored above 90%. And 36 का batch था, 34 people raised their hands. And I was like,
Okay.
मैंने कुछ गलत सुन लिया क्या, मैंने भी हाथ खड़ा कर दिया.
Right.
But then I realized कि I'm at the wrong place. कुछ गड़बड़ होगा. But then it's again those 2 years very transformative for me, and I ended up topping that batch and got into IIT.
Okay.
So yes, that's how the very briefly how the school life was.
Okay. So, and then you definitely you must have secured a very good rank. That's why you got into IIT Delhi, and that too civil engineering you got into that.
Hmm.
Uh, you mentioned that 11th and 12th was transforming for you, right?
Hmm.
Uh, at in class 10, not even having an idea about what IIT is, and then
Hmm.
putting your efforts in 11th and 12th, and then cracking it and getting into
Hmm.
IIT Delhi. So, can you throw some more light on what was that transformation which you felt in Kota during the preparation?
Hmm. So I was not in Kota, I was in Delhi itself, but I had
Okay,
joined
okay,
Pitch in Delhi.
okay,
Yes. So it was, I guess, now looking backwards, I can see how why I eventually got into mental health, because during during that time, the situation in my family was very bad, emotionally, financially, even physically, because my mother's health was too bad. So situation was too bad, and even relationally also, my between my father and my mother, so things were not good, and that had an emotional impact on me. To find relief from that situation, I shifted all my energy into studying. So I started studying like 12 to 14 hours a day. So it was, now looking backwards, I can say it was my escape mechanism to not
Okay.
feel overwhelmed. I found my relief in studying. And then again, I was also, I had then in class 11th, I had shifted the school. So I was not friends with people in the new school. So I was isolated also. So
Okay.
although it was difficult, it was lonely, but somehow all those difficult feelings, I found my escape into studying. And just that because there was nothing else, so I thought, let's just do this thing well. And I
Okay.
guess month after month, I started to perform better in the batch.
Okay. Okay. That's great. That's great. Thank you for sharing that. And maybe we will come to this preparation thing later as well during our
Hmm.
course of conversation. Now, you cracked IIT Delhi. You landed up in IIT Delhi. How were those 4 years like? And did you started getting some clarity that you want to move ahead with a mental space or something like that? How was that 4 years?
So those 4 years were, I guess, from the very first week, uh, it started to, in a way, destroy all the ideas that I had back then, that what I'll be doing later.
Right.
Because again, like every other engineering student, I entered that, okay, we'll do something in science. And in 2009, Three Idiots I think. So again, that was also on the mind that we
Yes.
have to become like a Jorda.
Uh,
And the very first week, the seniors in the college said that core civil engineering में कुछ नहीं रखा, भूल जाओ इसको. This is not a good career option. And they started giving their own perspectives. So I think one by one, so it started from there. Core engineering में कुछ नहीं है, that seniors brought. Then they said, over the time, I got to know about various other mainstream paths, but they didn't make any sense to me. For example, MBA, finance, consultancy, uh, MBA, UPSC, all these paths started to come as an option, but somehow intuitively it didn't make sense to me that this is not what I want to do. So I guess I started questioning from the very, I guess, from first semester onwards that do these paths make sense to me? The answer was no, because how they described it, that aisa hota, it didn't reach my heart. So then I decided that, okay, let me explore what do I like. Like from the very first year itself, I started to back then go to the nearby slum areas to teach children. And so that was a phase. I did that for throughout the 4 years, but in between, I realized that this cannot be a career option because there is no financial perspective to it. Then, and again, these 4 years were very experimental for me. I was doing good with studies, I was doing the extracurricular of the college, I was maintaining that well. But again, goal of everyone around was CGPA अच्छी लाओ जिससे जॉब अच्छी लगेगी, रिज्यूमे पे एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलर एक्टिविटीज होगी तो जॉब. बट मुझे था ये सब मैं कर रहा हूँ, मजा आ रहा है इसलिए, बट रिज्यूमे के लिए नहीं कर रहा, क्योंकि जॉब में तो इंटरेस्ट ही नहीं आ रहा जिस तरह से अभी तक सुना है कि क्या होगा जॉब. So then I was exploring other aspects. So at one point I thought, okay, I'll go in Indian Navy as a. I got to know that there is something called executive engineer in the Indian Navy. So I talked to people. I also went for some. Uh, I guess it was SSB, if I'm not wrong. So there was some 5 days ka exam. I started preparing for that. Then I met, so at that time, in one of the hostels, some Navy people used to come on their break to complete their masters. So I met them, asked them, "Ki, how is life in the Navy?" So they told about all the politics in Indian Navy and how it looks from the outside. It might not be as good. So then I thought, no, this also doesn't make sense. uh, then I
right.
thought, okay, I need to figure out something else. Then in 2013, Aam Aadmi Party was contesting the elections. So I worked with them
Yes.
for a 50 days internship.
Oh, that's great.
So that felt like something. Then I, again, internally, how things played, I realized that again, this is also not how I want to see my work to be.
Mm.
So 50 days here, I left that also. So like that, I kept on experimenting different things. But again, with I was getting answers what I don't want to do, but I was not getting any closer to what I wanted to do. So things years passed. It was a good, but I think one thing which stayed, which helped throughout, even during 11th and 12th, and even IIT, that there was a structure to how to be in action, getting things
Okay.
done, learning how to be disciplined. I guess was the most important learning. Physics, chemistry, maths were not that important. The civil engineering courses were not that important. But this, how to stay disciplined, how to keep putting efforts, that I guess stayed, and that still continues to help me even today. So I guess that was my only prime, most important learning from these years. In between, I also, so there is an option to do your major degree is in your usual branch, but you can also do minor degree. So I did a minor degree in computer science.
Yeah.
Again,
Okay.
left that as well. So
Mm.
yeah, a lot of experimentation, but didn't reach anywhere till the fourth year. Then the placement started, and I was clueless. Now, what will I do? Uh, so everyone was started to prepare for MBA or for placement or for UPSC, and the pressure just increased. Okay, मुझे कुछ नहीं पता, and everyone knows what they want, and everyone was so passionate that as if they know everything,
Right.
and it felt like, although later, now that I look back, it's just because everyone is doing it, hence everyone is doing it. It's not a well thought out or so yeah, then I thought, okay, I won't sit in placement. Then my one of my best friends said, कि ऐसा मत कर, बैठ जा placement में, job ले फिर join मत करिए.
Right.
So placement started, and I was again in my own high. I said कि मैं तो टी-शर्ट और पजामा पहन के जाऊंगा इंटरव्यू देने. So it was fun. Group discussions I used to clear, and interview में they used to ask me, "K, why are you wearing these clothes?" And they used to throw me out. So that happened, and eventually one of the companies accepted me. It was in Gurgaon, so that part got over. Then I think then the last semester of the engineering is free because placement is already done.
Right.
Courses are not that heavy during these months. Usually, what people do is they just binge watch series or they do all kind of substance use. So
Correct.
I thought maybe I will utilize it to really find, because अगर अभी भी कुछ नहीं मिला तो फिर job join करनी पड़ेगी and I'll be frustrated. So what I started to do was I started to uh, conduct different sort of sessions slash workshops in various NGOs for uh, high school children.
Okay.
So in some government schools also and in some NGOs also. I started to go almost twice a week. And they were happy that someone from IIT is coming to interact with the kids. And I loved that experience. So what I would do is I'll pick a topic which is relevant to that age group. I'll create a interactive activity based session on it. I'll go there, conduct it. And it was very satisfying and to
Right.
interact with the kids. And at times, kids would share their own journeys, their own struggles in the family or struggles within. So that really gave me a push that this is something I enjoyed. But yes, 6 months passed, and I realized that I don't know how to make a career out of it. I could see that it is something which touched me. Then the
Right.
joining date came for the job. Yeah, so that was the college journey.
Okay. That's great. That's great. And so one of the learnings, I mean, I would like to share with the audience, specifically if the student is watching this, you can see someone who has cracked IIT. in the top ranks in IIT Delhi, is still very much confused what to do with his or her own career, right?
mm,
So don't be too much confident when you are in class 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th that this is what I want to do, right? Because
mm,
that's a fantasy of exposure from the social media by which today's students are buying into, that I
mm,
want to become an entrepreneur, I want to start something of my own. uh, you may be a good teacher, and that does not necessarily require you to become an entrepreneur, right?
mm,
Getting that clarity is important. The earlier it is, the better for everyone, right? So thank you,
mm,
Lake, for mentioning your journey. But one thing which you specifically mentioned, that taking the action and being consistent and the discipline part has been constant throughout your IIT preparation journey as well as in your IIT days as well,
mm,
and it is helping you
mm,
today time as well. So because today, you being a clinical psychologist, you know better than me that how much the youth of India is distracted at this point of time,
mm,
right? And the lack of focus, lack of discipline is something which has become much more common in the homes today, specifically among the teenagers and the young people. That not was the case maybe 10, 15 years back the line.
mm,
What's your take, and how can parents, because many parents come to me and they ask me, the child is not able to focus, he's
mm,
lacking the discipline, what should be the approach towards this, both from your personal life as well as from a psychologist point of view?
mm, mm. I think it can be looked at from multiple perspectives. Uh, so one of, for example, if I share my personal experience, what helped me throughout was so from a very early, I guess around again class 11th, I had started to question a lot of things. So
Okay.
that questioning really helped me. Uh, and although at that time I was not aware of this perspective, so there is this book called Start With Why.
Simon Sinek.
Yes, Simon Sinek.
Yeah.
So although I got to know about this book later, but I had started to question why am I doing whatever I'm doing. Although the answer changed at different stages of life, but this questioning really helped me to, and in a way, this, any kind of questioning if we do brings our focus inwards. For example, if I specifically speak from career perspective,
Okay.
mostly we pick it from the outside, either
Yeah.
social media or college seniors, people around us, or some rishtedar will give advice. So we
Right.
pick it from the outside, and the again, to find what suits you, one needs to start to reflect. So that reflection, I guess, fortunately, I always had, even in class 11, that why am I studying? So at that time, in 11, the answer was that I see that situations are not good in my family. And one day when I'll become something, then there will be some student somewhere who would be struggling in their personal or academic life. Then one day when I'll become something, I'll do go back and interact with them, help them in whatever way possible. So that was, although the answer to this question why changed later, but at that those 2 years, this was my only aspiration, that
Okay.
I'll become something and then I'll help students who. It was also in a way a defense mechanism that I had as a child too, because I was in pain. So I wanted to someone to help me because there was no one. So I wanted to become. I just thought that I'll become that.
Right.
And in fact, later again, I read this quote by someone that be the light you want to see in the world. So that also got related later. So I guess one was this: once your purpose is clear, then it is easier to defend against the distractions.
Okay.
So that is one perspective. Other than that, there can be some technicalities. Okay, इस तरह से manage करो, ऐसे manage करो. There can be tools and techniques, but again, unless and until we have some uh, burning desire inside, then those tools and techniques might also be temporary.
Okay. 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 So that was a wonderful point. I mean, if you have the strong purpose, all these distractions go away. That is, matlab, you are in
Hmm.
a better position to cope up with the distractions it's as it is said that when once you get a higher taste of the purpose, you automatically start losing upon the lower taste of the social media and all these things which you are
Hmm.
entrapped by, right?
Hmm.
So maybe that is what you
Hmm.
said, that the purpose, having a strong purpose, can really bring a discipline and a focus in your life.
Hmm. And I would also like to clarify for the student that there is a difference between what, how, and why. Because at times
Okay,
we
okay, yeah,
confuse goals with purpose. Goal is about what I want to achieve, what I want to do.
okay,
But purpose is why I want to do that particular thing. For example, someone might say, I want to become an IAS officer. That is not a purpose.
okay,
Someone would say, I want to become an entrepreneur. That is not a purpose. Why do I want to become that? Because fundamentally, we human beings are emotional beings rather than rational or logical beings. So emotional part of us is too strong, whether we call ourselves logical, etc. So purpose is linked to the emotion. Goals are might be linked to the logical side of us. So if the emotional part is triggered, then it becomes much easier
right.
rather than the rational or logical part.
Okay, okay. Yeah, that was again great. So goal can be what you want to do, but the purpose is why you want to do that. So
Hmm.
there has to be a clarity. What, because that why will drive you
Hmm.
and bring the discipline. And thank you for sharing that. And as you mentioned that the why, the purpose is more linked to the emotional side of the human physiology rather than uh,
Hmm.
the uh, what can be related to the logical part, the
Logical.
logical side. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Hmm.
Great, great, great. So uh, you were in the final years of your engineering, and then you had this offer, but still that jump, because I see you did your your masters in clinical psychology in 2017-18, and there is a gap of 3 years. I mean 2014 you passed out. So uh, what you did during that point of time, was that again an exploration into the field of psychology, or how was it?
Hmm. Yes. So I'll take it forward from the BTech was over, the
Yeah,
joining date
yeah.
was had arrived. So, but I still didn't know how to make a career out of it. Although I had a taste of it, that something that I could feel that I could relate to or bring value to those students. So then I joined the job. It was in Gurgaon. I worked there for 5 months. Although there also I बिकॉज अंदर वो कीड़ा तो रहता है कुछ ऐसे कुछ
बिल्कुल.
छेड़ने का अलग करने का
Yes.
so 1 month I enjoyed the first month because there were presentations. So they asked us to present on various topics which were technical in nature. But I loved to present and I was always excited to present something. So I loved that first month. And then they said, okay, now you will be distributed to your respective engineering department. So I was put into civil engineering department. So it was a big meeting. MD of the company was also there. As soon as the meeting ended, I ran to him, to the MD directly, and I said, "के sir, मुझे engineering में कोई interest नहीं है. Why don't you put me in the HR department? Because मुझे humans के साथ कुछ समझना है, humans से related कुछ करना है." He said, "We have ours is an engineering company, and it will be great that someone who is an engineer from IIT is in the HR. They will be able to understand the engineers better. So it's a great idea. You can start from tomorrow." I said,
Okay.
"Okay, this is interesting." Although I was too naive. I didn't know how the HR in India works and all those dynamics. I just thought कि human उसमें लिखा है तो मुझे humans से related कुछ करना है तो मजा आएगा देखेंगे क्या होगा. Later I realized that उसमें administrative tasks बहुत ज्यादा थे rather than the human element of it. But as soon as I realized that, I again pushed for it. Instead of going to my boss who was giving me the administrative task, I skipped him and I again went to the MD का office. I said कि sir, मुझे ना सारे employees का interview लेना है और उनसे पूछना है what are their struggles in our
Okay.
company so
Okay.
that we can help their pain points. He loved the idea. He said कि हाँ, why not? And then for next 2 months, I would sit with almost each and every employee, talk to them for half an hour, 1 hour, no, make notes and file those notes. So I spoke to almost 150 employees of the company. one-to-one, made notes, compiled the notes, gained few insights, and it was fun. And the IITians who had joined alongside me, they were in the engineering department. They used to say, "तू क्या घूमता रहता है, सबसे बातें करता रहता है?" और हमें यहाँ डेस्क पे बैठ के ये करना पड़ता है टेक्निकल का. मैंने कहा
सही.
क्या करे, एंड दे वर बिट जेलस कि ये तो मस्ती में घूमता रहता है इधर से उधर. But yes, it was again insightful, and people were also happy that there was someone who cared about them, asking them what are their struggles of all kinds. So then I presented my insights to the MD and the whole management team. Uh, they implemented a few, they rejected a few, but it was a good experience. Once this
Great.
project was over, then again I was back to administrative task, and one day I just woke up and thought again, कि अब मजा नहीं आ रहा. It's getting boring. So I simply wrote the email, resigned from the job without knowing कि अब क्या करना. So yeah, this
Okay.
was the job part.
Great.
Although yes, उसके बाद फिर it was a again started from the scratch.
Okay. Okay.
Hmm.
So, Lekh, very interesting. I mean, first, that courage to directly speak to the MD in the first to second meeting itself and tell that this is what I want to do. That is first thing. But one thing which I would like to understand, because you talked to more than 100 plus employees in that company, what were your insights from that? I mean, what were your major insights from that? Why? Because I had this question which I wanted to ask you later, but I will ask now. If you look
Hmm.
at the survey from the Gallup, it says approximately 85% of the people across the world are unengaged in their jobs. They are
Hmm.
not satisfied, they are not happy, contented, and it is only the 10-15% who are really satisfied and they rise up to the top level, right?
Hmm.
What were the insight, what were the common traits or the common things which you found out from this experiment, I mean, of talking to 150 plus employees,
Hmm.
and why
Hmm.
people are struggling? Can you share
Yeah.
your thoughts on that?
Hmm. So I don't remember all the insight, but I remember the gist of it. And also,
Right.
I have worked now that I have worked with a lot of clients who are working in different positions. So I'll combine all of it. So I think
Absolutely.
it's a problem from both the sides, employer side as well as employee side. So from the employer side, uh, employer or management side, I would say that uh, the leadership skills are too poor. This is what I have observed, especially in Indian context.
Okay.
In Indian context, the management training or leadership training is very badly missing. It's simply that if someone has worked for 2 years or 4 years, they are given the position of a manager without any training,
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
and it is thought of as if, but if you know the work, you will be able to manage human beings, which is a very different skill set than the technical aspect of the work.
Yeah.
So I guess that part is missing. And again, that quote that people don't leave their companies, they leave their bad managers. So that part I have
Yes.
seen, that is one of the biggest problems that I see, that people are not trained in those basic human skills, empathy, understanding, listening. Rather, it is that everyone is operating from their own self interest. What is most beneficial to me? I'm not saying self interest is bad, but that we perspective is missing, that we are working together. We all are human beings. That
Yes.
part is uh, very strongly missing in most of the organizations. I won't say all. Uh, so that is from the employer side, and from the employee side, again the problem boils down to that it is too much of self-interest and lack of self-contemplation. That why am I here? Because
Okay.
the answers are only about package कितने का मिल रहा है, position क्या मिल रही है, but hardly there is any contemplation one on कि why am I doing it again. Purpose is missing. The
Yeah.
only goals are what will I get from here in terms of package. And you might also be aware that all these startups are competing. They will give higher package, so the employees jump from this organization to
Right.
that, and then another higher package they will jump again.
Yeah.
So again, not saying that anything is wrong with that, but it is purely out of what aspect of it, and the money is the most important criteria, and the purpose aspect is missing. Sense of we, that we are working together, that is missing. And I guess that
Okay.
the natural result is that there are conflicts from almost all the sides,
Okay. Okay. Okay.
and which leads to a very dry sort of situation, if I may use that word, that no one trusts anyone around.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that lack of trust creates a very negative environment. Everyone is
Yes.
threatened, anxious, insecure that the other person might take advantage.
Mhm.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Great. Great. Thank you for sharing that, Lake. I mean, so there are both sides to it: the management
Hmm.
perspective as well as the employee side perspective. Uh, you touched upon insecurities, and many times we, most of us have our own insecurities because of the kind of upbringing we had, and a lot of factors contribute to that. Uh, what do you think, why how to tackle insecurities in life? I mean, this is something which I'm from asking you from the clinical psychologist as well as your own experience into different domain. First is, why does the insecurity come, and what are the ways to overcome that or gradually overcome that?
Hmm. Sure. Hmm. So again, I'm enjoying the questions that you're asking because usually I have given other interviews also. Usually it's very tuck tuck tuck. Uh, ये बताओ कि कब
Yeah.
क्या किया. But you're asking good questions about.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much, like.
So yes, insecurities is almost all of us have insecurities of different kinds. Sometimes it is about money, sometimes about look, sometimes about where we live, sometimes about whether we have cool friends or not. In all
Yeah.
kind of human beings can be insecure in so many dimensions. And I guess fundamentally, insecurities boils down to our self worth. A question that how
Okay.
valuable am I?
Okay. Okay.
And again, that boils down to if we go too deep into it, it comes from that human being is a social animal. When they are connected with people, they feel safe because that's how we have survived as compared to other species. That if we are socially connected, we survive. And what makes sure that we are socially accepted and connected? If we are of value to the group. And how can we of value? We can be of value in multiple ways. Maybe when we used to live in jungles, maybe the physical body was very important, or looks were very important, even from the perspective of uh, reproduction as well. Appearance matter, and then money is then later on got linked to survival. Then money is very important. So it is fundamentally about survival that all these insecurities comes up. We
Okay.
start to question, and fundamentally we all have this question, maybe very subconscious: am I good enough? And that, and I am not good enough is the language that insecurity speaks. I'm not good enough in this, in that, and number of dimensions. So that
Okay.
is the insecurity.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why it starts is it goes back to our childhood, how the people who were around us, how they perceived us, intentionally or unintentionally. For example, if let's say one of my primary caregiver, this is the term that we use for the, it can be parents. If the parents are not available, then anyone else around. If the primary caregiver is not happy with us about any specific aspect of us, we will develop
Okay.
insecurity because my survival depends on that person. And if that person sees something negative in me, my survival is under threat. So I'll develop insecurity about it.
Okay. Okay.
For example, if my parents think that getting good marks is extremely important, if not, that I'm a bad kid, I'm a bad student, then I'll develop insecurity. I might start to do well with respect to marks,
Okay.
but the insecurity will stay throughout.
Oh, that was deep. I mean,
Hmm. So, and I guess a lot of uh, really successful people are extremely insecure. They are driven out of the insecurity.
okay. Okay. Oh, that's a great insight. I mean,
And a lot of them, if they do nothing for a week, they will just sit and do nothing.
Hmm.
They will start to feel anxious and depressed, because then
Yeah.
they will start to feel, I'm not valuable, I'm not good enough.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
this
Yeah. Yeah.
productivity thing, that be very productive, etc., is also somewhat driven by insecurity, or can be driven by insecurity.
Okay. Okay. Insightful, Lake. I mean, that's great. So basically, insecurity boils down to your self-worth. Am I good enough? Am I valuable? And as you mentioned, that the childhood experiences of your relationship with your primary caregiver, and if you are not able to, do the things as your primary caregiver want, so even if you do, but still that can be one of the ways if of building up a
Hmm.
insecurity, right? Okay, that was deep. I mean, thank you for sharing that. And even
Thank you.
the most successful people, as you mentioned, are driven by the insecurities.
Hmm.
I was having one of the conversation with uh, one of the life coach, and she was into recruitment of CXOs.
Hmm.
And she also mentioned this point. I mean, I had a conversation after the podcast, and I asked her that what I mean, all the top leaders, what good qualities you see, and what are not so good qualities which you see, right? And she mentioned that uh, every leader which we have, see, there are a lot of insecurities and their own personal agendas which they carry.
Hmm.
And I can totally
Yeah.
relate to what you mentioned, that
Hmm.
even though they may look successful, but there's a lot of insecurity which is driving them.
Hmm. I'll share another example. So,
Okay,
uh, kids who are born to famous people, celebrities, be it in business or any other field.
right,
Uh, so, for example, if I'm born in a middle class family where my parents are not quote unquote too successful materialistically, versus a child who is born to a super successful person or a
right,
celebrity. So, for me, becoming successful and feeling good about myself is far more easier. Let's say
okay,
if my parents are earning X amount, I'll start earning 2X after an age. I'll feel, oh, I have arrived. But
right,
if for that child who is born to a celebrity, it's an endless game,
right.
because they will always feel, okay, my parents are not proud of me because they were far more successful than me. So that leaves them too insecure that and
Yeah,
even if parents are not really thinking from those lines, but they pick from the surrounding that everyone is looking up to them, and they are saying कि मैं उनका बेटा हूँ या उनकी बेटी हूँ, and I have no identity of my own, and unless
right.
and until I surpass their success, I'm not good enough. So that is also another very common thing which
Yeah,
happens.
yeah, yeah. That's great. That's great. Okay. Thank you for sharing that, Lake. But I would like to ask you, so how to overcome this?
Hmm.
Because I see a lot of students have going through, specifically in the teenage, this self-image, and I'm not good enough, I'm not good looking, I'm not good at marks. My parents say something to me, I'm not able to come up with that. That is something which specifically I have found dominant in the teenagers during my counseling sessions. So how to overcome insecurities, and what students or parents, everyone can do
Hmm.
on overcoming our own security insecurities.
Hmm. So I would say, again, it is a long journey to overcome insecurities. It's I wish it was as simple as that. That my mind says that I'm not good enough. I replace the thought that I'm good enough. I hope that it worked that way,
Correct.
but unfortunately, it doesn't. So fundamentally, it is in the long run, as we do the self work, whether one is working by themselves or they are seeking help from a professional, it boils down to things, again, might sound cliched, like acceptance,
Okay.
love, unconditional positive regard for oneself. So basically, to first of all, to identify what all am I insecure about. And broadly, it will be around marks, money, looks, relationship, friendships, whether I have some material thing or not. And once I start to contemplate, uh, why is this thing important to me or in the world? So again, a lot of contemplation would be needed. Uh, let's say if I'm insecure about money, then I need to ask how much money is needed. What is the role of money in society?
Okay. Okay.
For example, a lot of people uh, feel that money, position, these are society in the society they are celebrated as success. So they put all their efforts into once I achieve this, then I'll be successful and I'll feel start to feel good enough.
Right.
But a lot of people who reach there, they realize that the issue is still not resolved. The
Right.
insecurity might take some other form.
Yes.
So fundamentally, acceptance of oneself. So insecurity is also not completely bad. Some insecurity keeps us driven. That I need to work on myself. I need to improve.
Okay.
It is only when it crosses. It's like a bell curve. If there is no insecurity at all,
Okay.
we might be very peaceful, but we won't be very driven. If
Okay.
the insecurity increases, the stress would increase or the action would increase, we'll be more motivated. After a point, if it increases beyond a point, then it start to become dysfunctional. Then it
Okay.
stops us from taking action. And so it's a bell curve. So if we, some insecurity is fine, we all have that, but it should not be beyond a level that it start to become dysfunctional. And
Okay.
there we need to contemplate a lot, uh, see if I can accept myself the way I am. In fact, one of the things that uh, this is again not for everyone, but sometimes just as an example. So people who are insecure about their bodies. So one of the ways that again not doesn't apply to everyone, that you
Right.
look into the mirror. Again, might sound a bit controversial. You look into the mirror completely naked and talk to your body parts, where whichever body part you feel insecure about, and we all feel insecure about some body part or the other. Talk to that body part with a lot of love, kindness, affection, acceptance. Ask that body part how much pain that part feels. That
Okay.
it is part of my body, but I'm not proud of it. I feel negative towards it. How much pain that part must feel. Talk to that body part. Try to empathize and see. Again, might sound very weird initially, but again, the sense of love, acceptance, affection within myself about my body, or even about which again is part of therapy that we do. Even our mind is divided into multiple parts. So, talking to those parts, bringing love, compassion, kindness within myself for myself is which can help in the long run.
Okay.
And if this love, affection, acceptance is provided by the parents to the child in the early childhood, the insecurities are hardly there. Unfortunately, that goes missing most of the time.
Okay.
So that,
Okay.
in a way, love, acceptance, kindness, affection, things on these lines are also, if they are lacking, they cause the problem. And even to solve the problem, those are the medicine.
Okay. Okay. Great. 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 So first, identifying your areas of insecurity, what you are insecure about. It can be
Hmm.
because of your looks, or maybe because of the your financial condition, or it can be maybe you are not scoring good marks, or whatever it be. Just identify the area of your insecurity, and then, as you mentioned, that we have to ask the questions. Why is this important to me? And what is the role this particular thing is playing in the society, right?
Hmm.
And then gradually accepting the things the way it is. And that was a very very good exercise which you mentioned, that talk to your, maybe if you're insecure about your body, talk to your body part. Sometimes we feel, like if tummy is outside and
Hmm.
वो proper fitting नहीं आ रही है, तो लगता है यार मैं
Hmm.
थोड़ा सा, तो talk to it कि
Hmm.
अगर, if you are having that pain, how much pain that body part which is a part of you would be having,
Hmm.
right? And build that empathy, love, affection
Hmm.
towards that.
And even if we want to change something about, let's say, physical body or financially or any other aspect,
Hmm.
if it starts from acceptance, sometimes people say that yaar accept kar liya to I won't grow, I won't change.
Okay.
But acceptance builds a very good foundation for healthy change to happen.
Okay.
For example, I speak to my body part and I realize that it is in pain. I accept it. It is similar to, in a way, reparenting yourself. लेट्स से
Right.
चाइल्ड स्कोर्स, एक बच्चे ने 60% उसके मार्क्स आए, एंड पेरेंट्स ने उसको खूब डांटा कि तुम्हारा कुछ नहीं हो पाएगा, खूब डराया। अब या तो होगा वो बच्चा सेल्फ डाउट में चला जाएगा कि आई एम अ फेलियर, मेरे से कुछ नहीं हो सकता, या फिर नेक्स्ट ईयर से वो बच्चा, क्योंकि डांट इतनी पड़ गई और अगेन सर्वाइवल पे क्वेश्चन है क्योंकि पेरेंट्स आर नॉट हैप्पी विद यू, विल
Correct.
स्टार्ट टू वर्क वेरी हार्ड।
Hmm.
दोनों ही केस में इनसिक्योरिटी उसके अंदर इंस्टॉल हो गई। हो
Okay.
सकता है वो नेक्स्ट ईयर से अच्छा परफॉर्म करने लग जाए, बट डर बैठा रहेगा, इफ आई फेल the end result is my primary caregivers won't be happy with me, or
Okay.
the person will be burdened by underconfidence
Hmm.
and won't be able to do anything. Both are bad, and in a way you have to reparent yourself, that I accept you for who you are. For example, the parent would can scold the child for scoring 60%, or they can say that it's okay, you scored 60%, you tried your best, very good,
Hmm.
we accept you, we love you for who you are. But beta, for we have for the career aspect, we might need to increase these marks because of the because it is needed in future. So for a
Right.
good future, we might need more marks. So acceptance and love can be there, still we can bring the change. So so if it can be done at one's own level also, in a way reparenting, that okay, my tummy is out, I can speak to my tummy, I accept you, I'm uh, I'm happy with you. I'm not rejecting you. I'm not ashamed of you. Again, it won't happen in just one conversation. It might require, but for the sake of health, I might need to do workout and dieting. But it's not that I'm ashamed of you and I want to get rid of you. So that love and acceptance, that can also lead to change, but
Okay.
that is much more healthier.
Got it. Got it. So it lays a healthy foundation to build upon
Hmm. Yeah.
rather than a negative fuel pushing you. It's better to have a
Hmm.
healthy foundation, a love based foundation of acceptance,
Hmm.
love, affection, and then use that as a motivating factor and move ahead in your careers. So that's
Hmm.
great. That's great. uh, so I would come back to now. Once you have decided, you started getting a clarity about that. Yes, this is, I like humans, I want to understand human behavior or psychology. uh, how did you pivoted from an engineering background to proper becoming a clinical psychologist? Because you are a licensed practitioner and it takes a lot of, in terms of your studies and all the things. Please walk through that part of your journey.
Hmm. Sure. So after I left my job, I was again clueless. What do I want to do? But I realized that okay, for my basic survival, I need a place to live. I need food. So for that, I started giving home tuitions for physics. So that gave me little amount of money which I could use to. So it would hardly take 2 3 hours a day, and rest of the time I had to figure out what I wanted to do.
Right.
So I utilized that time to, and again, that was very important point that I reflected on my entire life. That what has been two aspects, what has been very exciting for me, and what has been my pain, the core pain that I had. The pain was the emotional environment at home, and even into my own internal emotional environment. That was had been my core pain. And excitement also, I could see that I am very excited about understanding more about human beings, understanding more about myself. So when I
Okay.
combined these two, I realized that okay, I heard a word called emotional intelligence. So maybe this is what I'm interested in. So it didn't start with mental health. I picked the word emotional intelligence. I started reading on that. Then I again, fortunately, I have been a very experimental person. कि कुछ समझ आए तो कुछ भी random experiment चालू करता हूँ.
Yes, that I can
So
see throughout your journey. Yeah.
yeah, so what I started to do was IIT कैंपस के अराउंड ही था मैं जॉब छोड़ने के बाद से. आई टुक अ रूम नियर बाय. तो IIT दिल्ली कैंपस में आई क्रिएटेड दीज पोस्टर्स के इमोशनल इंटेलिजेंस पे एक वर्कशॉप हो रही है, उसमें ये होगा ये होगा ये होगा.
Okay.
एंड आई स्पोक टू वन ऑफ द प्रोफेसर्स कि मुझे कोई वेन्यू जुगाड़ दो. दिस आई वोंट बी चार्जिंग फॉर दिस, बस एक वेन्यू होना चाहिए जहाँ पे मैं करा सकूँ. द प्रोफेसर गिव मी अ लेटर. वेन्यू मिल गया IIT कैंपस में. सारे हॉस्टल्स में पोस्टर लगा दिए. कॉल्स आए, रजिस्टर किया, एंड 2022 पीपल का वर्कशॉप रेडी हो गया. एक्टिविटी बेस्ड वर्कशॉप था, डिस्कशन कंटेम्पलेशन बेस्ड था. I conducted it again with no financial aspects to it, but I enjoyed it. I received good feedback from people, and they also enjoyed it. And later they contacted me that I want to speak to you one to one. I am struggling with something. So I conducted multiple such workshops, like once every month, and I started getting connected to again IIT Delhi students, BTech, MTech, PhD, all used to attend. So from there, I started realizing, yeah, problem तो बहुत बड़ी है. Like after the workshop, so many people are coming to me कि one to one बात करनी है. कुछ ऐसा है जो workshop में बात नहीं कर सके, one to one बात करनी है. So एक insight वहां से आया. Then थोड़ा सा नाम professors में भी जाने लग गया कि there is some ex student alumni जो ऐसा कुछ कर रहा है. Although अभी तक कुछ finances का नहीं था. After 6 months, one of my senior professor, she was the one BSW, Board of Student Welfare Dean at that time. She asked me to meet her. Then she said कि I heard that you are doing something of this sort. मैंने कहा हाँ. और she said कि फिर revenue वगैरह कैसे मिलता. मैंने कहा वो तो मैं जुगाड़ लेता हूँ सब. So then she said कि why don't you do it officially for us, for IIT Delhi. Then I started, then I got my first, in a way, money from this kind of work. So I started to do it for the first year, right? There was a value education course in IIT Delhi. It's still going on. So I
Great.
was part of that course. So I started conducting such sessions with the students. So that was one part. Later, I realized that because this emotional intelligence wala thing, I couldn't figure out a way कि ये कैसे काम करेगा long term में. Then I got to know about counseling, and I had gone to a counselor in my final year because I was feeling very low, very confused कि career में क्या करना है. So वो भी experience mind में था. Then I met my counselor back then. Then she recommended me that you talk to this particular psychologist. I went to them. कि
Okay.
ये सब मेरी journey है, and what do I do? They said, okay, why don't you attend? One of the psychologists said, why don't you attend this 10-day program that I'm doing on counseling skills training? So I said, ठीक है, कुछ नया सीखने को मिलेगा. So I attended that 10-day program. Then counseling, therapy, I got introduced to this world. And I
Okay.
realized कि यहाँ पे तो एक structured path है कि ये वाला आप कोर्स करो, मास्टर्स डिग्री करो, फिर ये करो, and you start. So then in parallel, I was doing the workshops in IIT Delhi, or with some small organization NGOs also. Then I started to pursue counseling and therapy also. Then I did my master's in clinical psychology. Later, I realized that for the license to become a counselor, you don't need a license in India. To become a clinical psychologist, you need a license. So
Right.
then I did my full-time course as well after masters to get the license.
Mhm.
So yeah, in short, that's how it was.
Great, great, great. And I see that you did masters in clinical psychology, and then you did a professional diploma in
Diploma,
psychology.
clinical.
So, any specific reason that you went ahead for a professional diploma? Was that a basic requirement for the license, or how?
Yes.
Okay.
So license, so masters is a mandatory. Then to get the license, there are three options. Either you can do a 1 year full-time course, which is this professional diploma in clinical psychology, or 2 years ka MPhil in clinical psychology, or 4 years ka PsyD, which is a similar to a PhD, but in psychology, a PsyD in clinical psychology. So all these three paths were there. I took the 1 year wala path.
Okay. 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 So finally, what I can see from engineering graduate now getting into a career which you really want to go ahead with and making a dent in that career gradually, one step at a time, doing it by on your own. As you mentioned, action was something which has been constant, and you took those actions. कि
Mhm.
workshop करना है तो चलो करते हैं, let's
Mhm.
do it, and then take the feedback, and then you receive the feedback, and then you improved upon your learnings and all. And that is how you very, very, very naturally, I mean, many people can relate. Specifically, I find many students, young professionals, they are confused about their careers, stuck in the careers, but they are not taking action in the direction they want to go.
Mhm.
That is missing. and that
mm,
leads to procrastination, overthinking, depressing thoughts starts coming
mm,
in, and feeling what I'm doing with my life.
mm,
So your action taking has really, was one of the things, and your discipline which has helped you to move ahead. So great, great, great. uh, Now, from engineering, now you are into a career which you really want to, which you can relate to and you are happy. So my question is, at this point of time, do you feel contented? Are you happy in your career, or you still face there is that nudge or something is missing?
I think so it's been, I guess, 7, 8 years since I switched, but
Yeah.
it has been a worthwhile journey. This field, at least for a person like me, this is a gold mine for the intellectual stimulation. There is so much to understand about human mind with so many perspectives. There are different approaches to psychotherapy to look at the mind, especially from the perspective of human suffering. So psychology has many other fields. Counseling and therapy is about the emotional pain of human beings. So this has been, like, last 8 years have been worthwhile, and still there is so much more to learn every day,
Right.
and it has been very fruitful.
Okay.
And because of the that engineering wala mindset,
Hmm.
I could also, because usually when people speak about the psychology career in India,
Hmm.
people feel that financially it is not very rewarding. But
Ah,
again, from because of that entrepreneurial engineering mindset, now financially also I've been able to make it far more rewarding as compared to people who do it mainstream.
right.
So that engineering mind still helps to create it, like, financially also very fruitful.
Absolutely. Great, great, great. Uh, that's great, Lake. And uh, I would like to touch upon one of the topics which I think, because I'm talking to you and you would be one of the best persons to address this. I mean, we see that advancement is happening. Science is coming up with a lot of things. Now we are moving towards AR, VR, Zoom, all these technologies. We talk about generative AI. Yeah, advancement is happening, but the stress levels are increasing,
Mm,
depression is increasing, the suicide rates have almost become three times in the teenagers in last 10 20 years, right? So
mm,
where is this advancement leading, and why this is happening? Don't you, I feel it very contradictory. हम कह रहे हैं कि हम चांद पे भी चले गए, हम ये भी कर रहे हैं, वो भी कर रहे हैं, but the quality of
mm.
life, stress level is increasing, work life balance is deteriorating, quality of life is deteriorating, suicide rates are increasing,
Good.
depression is
Mm,
happening. Why? I mean, what is your take, and how we can address this?
mm. So in my perspective, it is a again, this problem is a multidimensional problem. We call it biopsychosocial problem. That mental health is a biological, psychological, and social problem, and we
Okay.
have to address it at all the three levels.
Okay.
Because when we get stuck with one aspect of it, for example, I am a psychologist. If I say that therapy is the answer, then I'll get stuck. So
Okay.
we have to, if be it depression, anxiety, suicide rates, we have to address it at all three levels. Speaking about, let's say, the psychological side of it, some of very brief of it we spoke about, for example, insecurity, self worth, that needs to be worked upon, but also the biological side of it. That if our physical body is active and healthy, our mind is not a separate entity. It is living throughout the body. If the body is healthy, mind chances of mind being happy would be higher.
Okay.
Psychologically, also mind needs to be healthy, and very important part which at times goes missing is the social part, which I would call as relationships, and that is one of the primary reasons that because relationships are not given high priority, be it the relationship between parent and child. अगर पेरेंट अपने आप में सिक्योर होगा तो वो चाइल्ड को भी वो लव अफेक्शन केयर दे पाएगा, जिससे
Right.
चाइल्ड अपने बारे में बेटर फील करेगा, लेटर ऑन वोंट बी इनसिक्योर और won't fall into depression or anxiety. Similarly, relationship between peers, it becomes too competitive, and then our basic need is to have some friends. If friends में competition आ जाएगा, we'll feel lonely. If we get too much, because when we say people are getting addicted to social media or getting addicted to games, online games, or let's say any other form of digital engagement,
Right.
which also leads to disconnection, because we are not able meeting people one to one or having good times together. But it is easier to say ke mat karo.
Hmm.
Why the person is doing it? One of the reasons is, one, it is designed in such a way that it becomes addictive. Another reason it is again a coping mechanism, because there is something not going right in my life. Let's say I'm feeling sad about certain aspect of my life. I'm very angry for something that is happening in my life. To find relief from those painful feelings, I will go for something which can give me temporary relief. It can be binge watching, it can be using social media, it can be substance abuse. So if I have tools to cope with my emotional pain, uh, which are healthy coping mechanisms, then I will avoid going for the unhealthy coping mechanisms. So there are again, this problem is multidimensional and we need to address it from multiple angles.
Okay. Okay. That was nice. So
And
bios.
yeah,
Yeah.
one thing which I would add is, we somehow need to realize the importance of human relationships in our society, and we need to strongly encourage from the maybe very primary school itself that relationships are one of the most important part of being human.
Yeah.
Money, power, fame, everything is secondary when it comes to living a healthy life. So happiness is fundamentally linked to human relations.
Okay. Okay. That was amazing. That was amazing. So happiness is related to the relationships and the different aspects of the relationships, and that is something we should definitely give a priority to, which
Hmm.
mostly, I mean, people realize at the later stage of their careers. And
Hmm.
there is one of the book, I think, from Five Regrets of Dying People, and I hope Shad, you might have.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So that also says that yes, so valuing the relationship is important. And somewhere, because there is a distinction between your life and your career. Your career is not your life, or your business is not your life.
Hmm.
Life is a part of your I mean, the career is a
Career
part of
is
your
part
your
of your life.
your life. That
Hmm.
sometimes, specifically when we are young, we just we are following the rat race, and somewhere,
Hmm.
the as you mentioned, that reflection is something which has helped you constantly to retrack yourself to the right path and choosing the right career.
Hmm.
So thank you for mentioning that, how important is relationship. And as you were saying, I can totally relate. Yes, यार, कि relationship aspect is the one of the most important thing. Money, career, सारी चीजें, मतलब वो सारी चीजें हो जाएंगी, but
Hmm.
रिलेशनशिप वाला एस्पेक्ट, और वो जो वुंड्स हमारे फिल नहीं हो रहे हैं, या फिर बचपन से
Hmm.
जो वुंड्स आ रहे हैं, वो अगर हील
Hmm.
नहीं होंगे, तो आप कितना भी कुछ कर लो, वो सेटिस्फाइड नहीं रहोगे,
Hmm.
और हैप्पीनेस
True.
नहीं आएगी.
Hmm. And again, just to clarify it for the audience, that when we say relationship, it's not just romantic
या
relationship.
या या That was
Yeah.
important to clarify.
Hmm.
Okay, okay, okay. So one aspect I would like to, though we are coming to towards the end of the podcast, but still I would like to touch this. And I had this two issues which I normally face when I'm doing a career counseling session with the students. One is a child-parent conflict, which started happening specifically during the teenage period.
Hmm.
Child says कि मेरे parents मेरे को नहीं समझते हैं. ठीक
Hmm.
है, they don't have an understanding. This is, but
Hmm.
the parent says that this is I want for the child, for the betterment of the child. So how to handle that,
Hmm. Hmm.
that friction between child and parent?
Hmm. So first of all, I would say that it is a very natural part of growing up. ये जो 12 से 18 का पीरियड आता है, इसमें कॉन्फ्लिक्ट होना is very natural, and it is in a way needed also for our development as an individual adult.
Okay.
So ये friction maybe nature ने by default हमारे अंदर डाला है that certain chemicals get released and we are like parents are wrong and I am right.
Yes.
Even if rationally we know okay शायद वो ठीक कह रहे but I will rebel against them.
Correct.
So that is part of we call it individuation, that so far till 10, 11, 12 की age तक we were completely dependent on the parents for all our needs. now if I have to become an individual, be my own person, after 18, I have to become my individual own adult, independent person. So I need to separate from that. And that separation is painful.
Okay.
So the natural reaction is rebelling against them. तुम गलत हो,
Okay.
मैं सही हूँ. और पेरेंट्स को भी ये समझ नहीं आता. पेरेंट्स को लगता है अभी 12 साल तक तो ये हमारी सब बात मानता था, मानती
हाँ
थी,
हाँ
अब पता नहीं इसको क्या हो गया. एंड देन दे
बिल्कुल.
आल्सो रिएक्ट बैक के तुम तो बिगड़ गए हो, ऐसे हो गए हो, वैसे हो गए हो. सो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल टू रियलाइज दैट इट्स वेरी नेचुरल. और ज्यादा आई गेस रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी पेरेंट पे आती है, दैट दे हैव टू एक्सेप्ट कि अब ये कंट्रोल छूटेगा 12 की एज के बाद, दे विल
Right.
रेबेल. और
Okay.
अगर
Okay.
हमने वहां पर उन्हें दबाने की कोशिश की, तो या तो बच्चा सबमिसिव रह जाएगा एज एन एडल्ट, या फिर हमसे बहुत दूर हो जाएगा इमोशनली. तो वहां पे दे हैव टू एक्सेप्ट कि बच्चा रिबेल करेगा अगले 5-6 साल. एंड वी हैव टू, even if the kid is at times irrational, we have to empathize what the kid is feeling.
Okay.
And so again, जैसे एम्प्लॉयर एम्प्लॉय में दोनों साइड से प्रॉब्लम थी, इन वे यहाँ भी प्रॉब्लम दोनों साइड से होती है.
Okay.
बट पेरेंट को ये समझना है कि ये नेचुरल स्टेट आएगा बच्चे का, एंड दे हैव टू प्रिपेयर फॉर इट, कि हमें फ्रीडम देना पड़ेगा एंड गलतियां भी करने देना होगा बच्चे को. Although we can maintain थोड़ा दूर से, we can ensure that they are safe, they are not doing something too harmful, but we cannot be micromanaging or too controlling. Second, from the student's perspective, I guess what I would suggest is that they have to question, okay, my parent is telling me this, even if it doesn't make sense to me. One question maybe a student can ask over and over, maybe once every week, is, क्या मेरे parents की intention क्या है behind this? We might not follow what they are saying. That is a different question. But asking what is their intention? Most of the time, intention is our safety and security. They are
Right.
scared कि कुछ गलत decision ले लेगा, कोई मेन स्ट्रीम पाथ ही कर लो, कुछ हटके मत करो. तो if we constantly ask, intention ठीक है, intention is for my well-being, it is not against me, then I would not be too angry at them, and I will be able to empathize. Though I might still need to take my stand, I might still need to have discussion, conversations. At times, small fights are also fine. But
Right.
agar empathy hogi for the other person, same from the parent side as well. And somehow, if let's say a career counselor can mitigate that communication, that can be even more helpful for both the parties,
Right.
to bring empathy from both the sides, that the intention is not bad.
Yeah. 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 Great.
Hmm.
Great. Great. Again, that was insightful. So this is what you mentioned is individualization.
Individualization.
Individual
Individualization.
individualization.
Or
क्योंकि
rather, let me say, individuation can also be a word.
individuation. Okay. Individuation जहां पे कि वो control छूटेगा. So parents trust the child and give that liberty to take that bit of controllership on
Hmm.
themselves. And at the same time, for the students, please ask this question: ki, what is the intention of your parents?
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So
And
thank you.
intention is mostly for your good,
Yeah.
although the options that they might say might not suit you,
Hmm.
which can be discussed, communicated. There can be contemplation, discussions around it.
Right.
But the intention is for your safety and security. And
Correct.
if we see that intention, we won't feel angry at them.
Yes. 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 Great. 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 Okay. So one last question, and then we will wind up. Like today, we see specifically from young age, students are, I mean, 15, 16 lakh students appearing for IIT or maybe the competitive exams, and they take it as a life in itself. And we have seen recent news in Kota how suicides are happening. NEET के exam में
Hmm.
qualify नहीं कर पाए. What's your message to the students who are preparing for the competitive exam, and because you have yourself cracked the one of the toughest exam, and then
Hmm.
you have left it, and then you chalked a different career. So, a message coming from you will be really valuable and helpful for them.
Hmm. Hmm. So I guess I'll start with one suggestion. If it suits the student, they should follow it, which is to maybe whatever time, maybe even 15 minutes a day, start writing your thoughts, or start questioning, but through the act of writing, with the perspective that eventually they can question that again, why am I doing what am I doing, or what I'm doing. That questioning will give them clarity that eventually my goal is that eventually I need to have a career, I need to earn money, I need to do something that I enjoy. And let's say IIT JEE is one path which a lot of people say that this path is the most safest. Again, not that they are saying the right thing, safe and secure. They are operating from that perspective, but that is one path.
Hmm.
There can be n number of paths. और path ढूंढना बहुत ज्यादा मुश्किल नहीं होता. I think even if I take from my example, it is as simple as that. कहीं से भी start करो. अगर आपके पास बेसिक एवरेज आईक्यू है, अगले 10 कदम सोचो, 10 कदम चलो, फिर अगले 10 कदम दिखने शुरू हो जाएंगे, वो चलो फिर अगले 10 दिखने शुरू हो जाएंगे. इट विल जस्ट बी अ मैटर ऑफ टाइम. आईआईटी करना है, ये इतना हाइप क्यों बनाते हैं? बच्चे के लिए तो प्रेशर हो जाता है कि पेरेंट चाहते हैं, सोसाइटी चाहती है, बट वो क्यों चाहते हैं? वो इसलिए चाहते हैं बिकॉज इट्स अ सेफ एंड सिक्योर ऑप्शन.
Right.
उनको लगता है सेफ एंड सिक्योर है, ये करोगे तो जॉब लग जाएगी, जॉब लग जाएगी तो मनी आ जाएगा, सक्सेस आ जाएगा, शादी हो जाएगी. दे आर ऑपरेटिंग के आप एक सेफ लाइफ जियो. उससे
Right.
ज्यादा कोई उनको उसमें बहुत कुछ बड़ा नहीं दिख रहा. थोड़ा बहुत उनको फेम मिल जाएगा पड़ोसियों से, रिश्तेदारों से, वो भी अगेन दे आर ऑपरेटिंग फ्रॉम देयर इनसिक्योरिटीज, कि उनको वो अप्रूवल चाहिए सोसाइटी का थ्रू
Correct.
योर यू क्रैकिंग आईआईटी.
Yeah.
तो टू सी के वो अपनी इनसिक्योरिटी से ऑपरेट कर रहे हैं, फंडामेंटली दे वांट अ सेफ एंड सिक्योर ऑप्शन, बट ऑप्शंस आर नॉट वेरी लिमिटेड. There are n number of options that are available. All you need is some bit of courage, some basic average IQ, and understanding के 10-10 कदम चलते रहो, आगे का रास्ता दिखता रहेगा. Then it will just be a matter of time. कहीं भी रास्ता तो बन जाएगा. Given today how the technology is developing, there are n number of options, and IIT is just one safe and secure option that is in a way proven that वहां से job मिल ही जाती है. But and I guess it is also the positive side of let's say something like YouTube, that you can see how so many people who are not at all far away from IIT are earning good money, are doing good work, because now they have access to technology, different ways to express themselves. Like to see how people are building something very small and earning money out of it. They will
Yeah.
start creating videos on how they organize their house,
Yeah.
and people are watching them organizing their house.
Correct.
Something where, again, to find something that you are interested in. I think students can also they might have heard of it, the concept of ikigai,
Yes.
and start contemplating from that perspective. What am I interested in? What am I good at? What the world needs, and what can I be paid for? इस पे contemplate करते रहो, रास्ता मिल जाएगा.
Nice.
Hmm.
Great, great, great. Just one question before I had this. See, you have now chosen. You are a clinical psychologist, right? You hear day in day out. You are listening to the pains of the people, right? And how do you cope yourself with so much lot of depression, anxiety? What is your way of overcoming this or refreshing yourself? Because I think one of the biggest challenges for someone who wants to get into a field of career psychology is that, because it starts taking toll on our health as well. I mean, how do you maintain that?
Mhm. Mhm. Sure. So one thing which is almost a must, although maybe not all mental health professional would follow it, but we should be in therapy ourselves from a senior therapist, so
Okay.
that one, we can take care of our own emotional health. Second, we are much more self-aware. Then only we'll be able to help someone to be self-aware. So that therapy has, I have been in therapy almost since 5 years. It's still going on.
Okay.
So now it's not more about the problem, but more about self-awareness. But that is one aspect. Second is to have your own, again, biopsychosocial support. So
Okay.
I have a routine for my physical health. I have a routine for working on my thoughts, writing my thoughts. I have a good social support system. So having these three helps me to, although again, it's like in therapy, we get to hear the most darkest and most painful aspects of human life.
Yeah, yeah.
And it does take a toll. But if you take care of your biopsychosocial support and
Hmm.
also, if needed, be in therapy, then I think
Okay.
it's not too much. But again, it can also vary from person to person. So because I am naturally interested in understanding human emotional pain, human suffering,
Mhm.
so it is, rather than being a burden, I'm interested in understanding it better. So that keeps me motivated and curious.
Okay, okay. Got it. So having that biopsycho
Biopsychosocial.
social support, all these three supports have to be there, which helps you to, overcome the challenges and all.
And I
Great,
think
great.
it's for everyone. Like we should
Everyone,
all
absolutely.
work
Yeah,
on biopsychosocial
absolutely,
support.
absolutely. That's a for me also. I mean, sometimes I'm more on a uh, these three. If these three are in place, then definitely you will feel happy, better, emotionally content. So
Hmm.
yeah, that will happen. Great, great, great. Thank you very much, Lake. It's a long podcast, and definitely the kind of value you have added with your insights, and your own journey is really going to help whosoever is watching this podcast. Before we end, anything you would like to add from your end, or I missed to ask you, or something you would like, or some final message or parting thoughts?
No, I think I would maybe summarize these 2 points because most of your audience is students who are figuring out their career.
Yeah.
So one thing which I would ask them to start writing and contemplating, and that helps a lot to figure out what they want. Second, read about concept of ikigai, especially in context of finding your passion or career.
Okay.
And it should not be a one day contemplation. कि आज किया और maybe once every month you can contemplate and रास्ता बन जाएगा even if there is confusion right now.
Hmm.
Have patience.
Hmm.
Action को on रखो. Maybe अगर hyper action नहीं भी करना तो some action every day. Uh,
Okay.
and yeah, during this journey, take care of your biopsychosocial environment. Yeah.
Great, great, great. So take care of your biopsychosocial environment, and yeah, and if you want to reach out to Lake runs his company called Coach for Mind, and you can reach out to him as well for any kind of help, or you can reach out to him on LinkedIn as well. We will be linking his handle. So if you have any queries, you want to reach out, you can definitely reach out. And thank you to all the audience who have been patiently watching till this point of time. Thank you for your
Hmm.
time. And if you have any queries to this conversation, please make sure you type those comments in the chat box down below, and our team will pick up and we will try to reply on that. So we'll be ending the podcast
Yes.
now. Thanks, Lake. Thank you very much
Thank you
for
so much,
coming.
Samrit. It was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lake.